Hey there, Econ folks. This is Mr. Hooker one more time. And this time we're going to look at economic models, looking at trade-offs in trade. So let's get into this and see what we got. So, what is a model? So, it's really just an abstraction of reality. So, as they call it, a simplified representation of a real situation used to better understand real life situations. So, a good model. So, the way I was taught this whole thing, a good model should be an abstraction of reality that strips away all the complexities so that you can see what is going on and understand it without, you know, having to see all the other stuff, but understand that that other stuff really is there. So that's the way that we really should look at it. One of the best models is the circular flow model. So we will look at that a little bit later here. The other thing's equal assumption, also known as ceteris paribus, is that all other relevant factors remain unchanged. So there's a lot of other stuff in this world, and we're not going to look at that in these models. We're just going to assume that that stuff doesn't change. So you have to understand, and this is like the argument with economists, right? So everybody makes assumptions in their models, and it's just basically like what I call it in class. And you may have seen the old Staples commercials where they had the easy button. It is basically like hitting the easy button, right? You make these assumptions, you do what you do. And then like economists fight over like, well, you made really bad assumptions. Like, dude, just like you made really stupid assumptions too. So like just get over it. It's okay. The production possibilities frontier is going to be the first one we do. It's a diagram that shows the combinations of two goods that are possible for society to produce at full employment. It helps us understand some aspects of the real economy, efficiency, opportunity cost, growth. It's pretty simple. If you see a straight line PPF like this, you can understand that. I mean, this is not a normal PPF. A normal PPF should be concave, it should be bowed out. Um, so, straight line typically means the two goods are, in a sense, substitutable. Normally, what you will have are two goods that are non related, typically like a capital good and a consumer good. But we have here on the vertical a Dreamliner and small jets on the horizontal. And those are somewhat substitutable. It's just scale. So Dreamliners, for those that don't know, are really large jets. Those are like two-story jets. So these are massive, massive jets. And then you have the small jets, maybe small luxury jets, even. Think about that. And if you ever want to buy one, my niece's husband sells them. So, you know, you have the money and you want one, let me know. I'll hook you up. So basically, we can make either 30 Dreamliners or 40 small jets or any point on that line in between. Okay. So that's kind of where we are with that. So any point on the line is feasible and efficient in production. Any point in that light blue shaded area is possible, but not efficient. You can do it, but you're not using all your resources. You got some what we call unemployed resources. Any point beyond the line out in here, right, is unattainable today. So we have some assumptions that go with this PPF. One, all resources are being fully employed. We have fixed technology. And so, those are your basic things that we have going on. And so when we say we all resource, and sometimes you add full employment, but if I say all resources, um, that includes labor. So you can say full employment as well, but that goes with all resources. So basically, the only way to get out here is discover a new technology, increase in resources. So I'm not going to increase out here today. So technology is fixed. So the way that works is what you woke up with this morning is what you got. Now, you can't change that in any way, shape, or form. So here, point A is 15 and 20. B is 9 and 28. And so you see here, point C at 9 and 20. It's feasible, but it's just not efficient. I could do it, but it's not gonna work. And then D out here, 30 and 40, it's not feasible. I don't have the materials, I don't have the technology. I can't make that. So that's not gonna work. This Econ movie with Clifford, it's a good one. It shows the PPF. Check it out. So efficiency, uh, the economy is efficient if there's no missed opportunities. Economy is efficient in production if there's no missed opportunities in production. It's efficient in production if it cannot produce more without producing less of something else. That means it's on the PPF. Um, so if you're not on the PPF, so if you were at that point C on that previous one, you can produce more of both without giving up any of both. You could go from C to A or B and produce more of both without giving up any of both. The economy is efficient in allocation if it allocates its resources so the consumer are as well off as possible. So understand that you could produce all Dreamliners. You could produce all small jets, but is that really what the economy wants? Do you want all large planes or all small planes? Probably not. You probably want some mix. Now, what the mix would be, I don't really know. So that's where the efficient allocation goes. Because can everybody, could the population afford all large jets? Could they afford, do they really want all small jets? You know, people want to go places. They're not going to fit in small jets. All right. So efficiency requires both efficiency in production and efficiency in allocation. So opportunity cost is what must be given up in order to get a good. So remember that from chapter one. So if Boeing decides to change its production from point A to point B, it will produce 8 more small jets, but 6 fewer Dreamliners. Therefore, each small jet has an opportunity cost of 6/8 or 3/4 of a Dreamliner. Okay, so that's the way that goes. Oops, skip one. Yeah, there we go. So if you are stranded on an island, okay, and this island's rich in clams and mangoes, if you devote all your time to harvesting clams, you can get 100 clams a week. If you use all your time to collect mangoes, you can find 200 mangoes a week. So assume it's possible to collect fractional amounts of both goods and draw a sketch of your production possibilities frontier for a week. What's the opportunity cost of each good? Okay, so we're going to look at that here. Well, we'll look at how to figure that out here. So here is the idea of what I was talking about, that concave looking uh, production possibilities frontier. This is a more normal one. It should look like this. This is because of the law of increasing opportunity cost. The law of increasing opportunity cost basically says there should be the more, as you go from one good to the other, you're going to have to you're going to have to keep giving up more of the last good to get more of the next good. Okay. The more small jets the economy produces, the more costly it is to produce yet another small jet, in terms of Dreamliners. So you're going to have to give up more Dreamliners to get more small jets. It's basically the problem. So, oops, went too far with that. All right. So basically, that first part, I give up 20, producing that first 20, I don't give up much. I only have to give up 5. Producing 20 more, I have to give up 25. So if the first 20 only cost me 5 Dreamliners, the next 20 cost me 25 Dreamliners. Pretty simple in the idea of it. I mean, this is jets to jets, so it really shouldn't be that way. But um, the best one of these I've ever seen is beer and mountain bikes. If you were moving between beer and mountain bikes, like the first thing you're going to give up are beers that nobody drinks, nobody cares. Like, right? You go, and those people probably were better at making mountain bikes anyway. Next, you're going to give up some beers that some people care about. Eh, they might cry a little bit, but who cares? And then you're going to go on a little bit more, and you're going to get rid of some beers that that the mass public cares about. Now you're going to have like protests in the streets, and you're going to, you're not going to gain a ton of you're not really gaining a ton of mountain bikes from that. And then in the end, what you're going to do is you're going to be getting rid of all the beer making equipment and the master brewers, and you really don't gain hardly any mountain bikes at all. So it's just a whole mess in that end. So economic growth means the expansion of the production possibilities. So there you go. That is like an pretty much a dual growth, a general growth kind of thing. You can, if you had two different goods, let's say robots and pizzas, if there was and actually that one's kind of bad with that, but oh no, not terribly. Um, if you had robots and pizzas, and let's say there was some kind of something that came along that made the dough better. That doesn't do anything for robots, but it makes pizzas better. So you would only shift the pizza side out, but you would leave the robots the same. So that can happen as well. So two possibilities for economic growth happen. We could have an increase in the factors of production, which are the resources used to produce the goods and services, the land, the labor, the capital, and the human capital, the physical capital and the human capital, or we just had better technology, which are the technical means for producing our goods and services. So we just got better at it. So, what are the ideas for trade? Comparative advantage has been the basis for trade ever since the Industrial Revolution. So, the second Industrial Revolution, let me point this out. First Industrial Revolution, they said it was absolute advantage. Then, second Industrial Revolution, mid 1800s comes along. Ricardo says, no, 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 it isn't absolute, it's comparative advantage. So comparative advantage is the idea that you trade based on the good you have a lower opportunity cost, and so you produce that good you have a lower opportunity cost in and trade. So produce the things you're especially good at or relatively better at, and buy everything else from everybody else. So country has comparative advantage in producing good or service if it has a lower opportunity cost than other countries. Individuals have a comparative advantage in producing a good or service if their opportunity cost of producing the good or service is lower than for other people. So let's take a look at how this goes. We've got the US and Brazil, and this would be great time to stop. I don't have time to go through it right now, so we'll stop right now and we will cover this in video 2. See